The movie kicks off with Case Walker, a tough fighter who competes to show his opponents how to use their skills better. Case is really good at fighting, and he looks like he's in charge of the fight because he's so skilled. But his coach tells him to slow down and finish the fight in 2 rounds. The coach thinks if Case knocks out his opponent too quickly, no one will want to fight him again. But Case can't wait to end the match. After the fight, his coach, who's disappointed that Case didn't listen, quits. Shortly after, Case runs into Brody James, an old buddy who's also an MMA fighter. Brody tells Case that he's signed up with PFC Combat and introduces him to Micah Cruz, who's in charge of marketing at PFC Combat. Brody asks Case to coach him because he's going to fight a really tough 7-foot-tall fighter named Cesar Braga in the PFC Championship in Bangkok. At first, Case says no and suggests Brody cancel the fight because Braga is no ordinary opponent. But Brody keeps convincing him, knowing that Case needs to find his way back and get on the right track. Finally, Case reluctantly agrees and heads to Thailand. When they got to Thailand, Brody and Braga had a press conference before the fight. But things got messy when a journalist brought up Braga's ex-wife. Braga got really mad and flipped a table in front of him, scaring everyone. That wasn't the end of it. He even smashed a mirror and let out his anger in the restroom. Seeing how strong Braga was, Brody's confidence took a nosedive. Meanwhile, after dropping off his stuff at the hotel, Case headed to the Top Fight gym where Brody was training for PFC Combat. But Case wasn't exactly welcomed there, especially by Brody's coach, Matty Ramos. While Case was getting ready to train Brody, a tough fighter named Cobra was going to do some sparring. Everyone was excited because Cobra was the second strongest fighter in the gym after Brody. Cobra could easily knock out his sparring partners, but he got distracted when he saw Case training by himself in the corner, which he thought was weird. Shortly after, Brody arrived at the gym and asked Case to spar with him. But Cobra stepped in and said Case should spar with him first. Case wasn't too thrilled about it, but because he was confident in his skills, he finally agreed to spar with Cobra. During their sparring session, Case effortlessly blocked Cobra's moves using only a few simple techniques that didn't require much energy, and he managed to take Cobra down. Unfortunately, Cobra got hurt pretty bad during the practice match with Case, so they had to rush him to the hospital for treatment. The next day, the head honcho of PFC Combat, a guy named Hugo Vega, came to Case and demanded that Case take responsibility for injuring one of his top fighters. Vega asked Case to step in as a replacement for Cobra, but Case flat out refused. He didn't want to fight for Vega, and it turns out there's some history between them. Then, a young and upcoming fighter named Taj begged Vega to let him replace Cobra. But Vega was not impressed with Taj's amateur fighting style and left in frustration. Taj, along with another fighter named Creech, then approached Case, who was in the middle of training, and pleaded with him to train them. After finishing his own training, Case agreed to coach the 2 young guys. That night, Case began teaching Taj and Creech some basic punching techniques to get them started. The next day, Micah, who seems to have a thing for Case, asks him if he'd like to go on a date. Case, who also seems to like Micah, says yes right away. That's when he learns that Micah is a single mom with a daughter named Morgan. While Case and Micah are on their date, Maddie, Brody's coach, sees them together and decides to spill the beans to Brody. On the other hand, because Brody's been lacking in motivation lately, Vega suggests that he use steroids to get in better shape for the fight against Braga and help him recover before the match. Maddie then tells Brody about Micah and Case, and their date gets awkward when Micah starts talking about Case's time in prison, which makes him really uncomfortable. That night at the gym, Brody challenges Case to a spar right away. But instead of a friendly spar, Brody goes all out and starts attacking Case recklessly. Case responds with sharp moves and eventually knocks Brody down. Case asks Brody if he's lost control, and it seems like their friendship has hit the rocks. The next day, Micah apologizes to Case for bringing up the past and offending him during their date. One night after their training, Case and Brody decide to grab dinner together. During their meal, Brody realizes he messed up and apologizes to Case. He admits he got really jealous and lost control earlier. Brody promises to do things right and even says that Micah is a good woman who will support their relationship. He tells Case he wants to focus more on training because the fight against Braga is getting closer, and he's determined to beat the big guy. However, Case eventually finds out that Brody is taking steroids because Vega recommended it. To keep it short, Brody gets serious about his training with Case and Maddie to win the fight against Braga. On the other hand, Case and Micah's relationship grows stronger, and they spend a lot of time together, going on dates and such. Then, one day, a guy from Vega's team visits Case and offers him a contract to become a fighter in PFC combat, but Case turns it down right away. The next day, when Case and Brody arrived at the gym, they saw other fighters gathered around, watching a video of Case beating up a racist cop while he was in handcuffs from 2 years ago. The video had gone viral, and it attracted a lot of attention, so reporters started showing up, wanting to interview Case. Micah then took Case to one of Vega's houses to keep him away from the prying eyes of the reporters. She even suggested that Case should consider Vega's offer to fight in PFC combat, but once again, Case turned it down. The day after, Case went to the gym and was surprised to find out that Vega had sent a Sambo wrestler named Boris to train Brody. Case and Maddie thought it was unnecessary and could potentially harm Brody. Unfortunately, their fears came true when Boris accidentally injured Brody's knee during training. Brody had to undergo intensive treatment for weeks, even though his fight against Braga was just days away. Because Brody was injured, Vega offered Case $1 million to step in and fight Braga. Micah revealed to Case that Brody's injury was what Vega wanted most. Case started to suspect that Vega might have intentionally caused Brody's injury indirectly. The next day, Case's suspicions that Vega had intentionally hurt Brody were confirmed when he secretly searched Boris' locker and found a text message exchange between Boris and Vega. In those messages, Vega had ordered Boris to injure Brody so he couldn't fight and would be replaced by Case. Case shared this discovery with Brody, Maddie, Micah, and the others. It became clear that Case was being forced into the fight, but they were all determined to figure out a way to stop Braga and Vega, who were set to make a lot of money from the match and expose Hugo Vega as the one responsible for Brody's injury. Meanwhile, Case started training really hard to prepare for his upcoming fight against Braga. Later, on the night of the fight, Micah, who was now Case's girlfriend, informed Vega that she was quitting and no longer working for him. Case's fight against Braga attracted a lot of attention, including that of a famous martial arts actor from Thailand, Tony Jaa, who turned out to be a fan of Case's. While talking to Brody in the locker room, Case finally came up with a plan to confront Vega and hold him accountable for what he had done to Brody. He decided to start a fight with Braga outside the ring deliberately. After successfully getting Braga all riled up, he went after Case, and they ended up fighting outside the ring. The whole audience and the media crew covering the intense battle watched it unfold. While Braga managed to knock Case down several times with some really powerful attacks, Case used a traditional karate move called Kyokushin to fracture Braga's ribs when he got back up. Seeing that it worked, Case kept using these traditional karate techniques and eventually knocked Braga out with a move called Kaiten-jeri to the head. Since the fight was settled outside the ring, it got cancelled. This made Vega, who had to refund the audience and sponsors their money, really angry, and he even threatened to take Case to court. But Case let Vega know that they had evidence of his involvement in Brody's accident and warned him that a lawsuit could cost him millions of dollars. With their desired victory achieved, Case, Micah, Brody, and their friends left the battle arena. So the moral of the story is, in the world of fighting and relationships, don't let jealousy and shortcuts knock you down. Always stick to your principles and fight for what's right. Oh, and never underestimate the power of a well-timed karate move.